This is the most important video you will ever watch if you want to understand what's right or wrong in your life. I want you to challenge yourself. First, watch this video and be mindful of the emotions. The very first thing that pops into your head as you progress through the video. Then come back to it and be mindful of the emotions you experienced and ask yourself why you experienced them. Emotions are fundamental to the human experience. They guide our reactions, decisions, and perceptions of the world. In this video, we're going to explore exactly what emotions are, how they originate, and most importantly, how they become ingrained in our thoughts, shaping the way we view ourselves and the world around us. Emotions are powerful forces, but understanding how they work can give us the tools to manage them better and avoid getting trapped in negative thought patterns. Let's dive deep into the nature of emotions and their impact on our cognitive processes. And don't forget to keep track of your emotions. At their most basic level, emotions are complex psychological and physiological responses to stimuli. They arise from interactions between the brain, the body, and the environment. These reactions happen in milliseconds, often before we are even consciously aware of them. Emotions evolved as a survival mechanism, helping us respond quickly to challenges or opportunities in our environment. There are a few key characteristics of emotions. First, physiological response. Emotions trigger physical changes in the body, such as a racing heart, sweaty palms, or butterflies in the stomach. These responses are controlled by the autonomic nervous system and are often involuntary. Second, subjective experience. Emotions are felt personally and subjectively. The same event might trigger different emotions in different people based on their unique experiences, memories, and beliefs. Third, behavioral reaction. Emotions often lead to behavioral changes, whether it's smiling in joy, crying in sadness, or lashing out in anger. Some of the primary emotions include joy, fear, anger, sadness, and surprise. These emotions are universal across human cultures, and they provide us with critical information about how to navigate the world. Emotions originate in the brain, particularly in the limbic system, which is the emotional center of the brain. The amygdala plays a key role in processing emotions, especially fear and aggression. It acts like an emotional alarm system, quickly assessing whether something in our environment is a threat or reward. The hypothalamus and the hippocampus also contribute by regulating the body's physical responses and linking emotions to memories, respectively. When you experience an emotional event, your brain interprets the sensory input and sends signals to the amygdala, which assesses the situation and triggers a physical reaction. The brain releases chemicals like adrenaline and cortisol in stressful or fearful situations, or dopamine and serotonin in moments of pleasure. This biological process happens incredibly fast, often faster than your conscious thought. This is why emotions can feel so overwhelming and immediate. They are designed to kick in before your rational mind has time to process the situation. Once an emotion is triggered, it can profoundly affect our thoughts. Emotions shape the way we perceive situations and color our interpretation of events. Here's how. First, selective attention. Emotions have the power to focus your attention on specific details of an experience, often filtering out everything else. For example, when you're angry, you might zero in on the cause of your anger and ignore other factors that could provide a more balanced perspective. This selective attention makes emotions potent drivers of how we interpret situations. Second, memory and learning. Emotions are closely tied to memory. Now stop. Are you keeping track of your emotions? It's hard to even realize you had them. They are subconscious and happen very fast. You can have several a second. Don't forget your challenge. Let's continue. When an emotional experience is particularly strong, it becomes etched into our memory, often forming the foundation of how we respond to similar situations in the future. The hippocampus, which is responsible for long-term memory, works with the amygdala to store emotional memories. This is why we remember emotionally charged events much more vividly than neutral ones. Third, cognitive biases. Our emotions can create cognitive biases, which are mental shortcuts or tendencies that influence how we think and make decisions. For example, if you've experienced repeated failures, The emotion of fear can lead to a cognitive bias known as catastrophizing, where you expect the worst-case scenario in future situations. On the flip side, positive emotions can lead to optimism bias, where you expect the best outcome regardless of the risks. Fourth, emotional thinking. When an emotion becomes intense, it can take over our cognitive processes, leading to what's called emotional thinking. In this state, the rational, logical part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex, takes a backseat to the emotional, reactive part of the brain, the limbic system. Emotional thinking can lead to quick decisions based on gut feelings, but it can also lead to impulsive or irrational actions if left unchecked. Emotions can become ingrained in our thoughts through a process called emotional conditioning and repetition. Over time, the more we experience certain emotions in response to specific situations, the more likely those emotions will become automatic responses in the future. This happens in several ways. First, emotional conditioning. Just like Pavlov's dogs were conditioned to salivate at the sound of a bell, we can be conditioned to associate certain stimuli with emotional responses. For example, if you've experienced anxiety every time you're in a crowded space, your brain will begin to link that environment with the emotion of anxiety. Even if there is no immediate danger, this process strengthens the emotional response over time, making it harder to break the cycle. Second, cognitive rehearsal. When we ruminate on an emotion, such as thinking about why we're angry or upset, we strengthen the neural pathways associated with that emotion. Repeatedly dwelling on the same emotional experience reinforces the connection between the emotion and the thought pattern, making it easier for that emotion to arise in future similar situations. Third, confirmation bias. Emotions can create confirmation bias, where we only seek out or pay attention to information that confirms our emotional state. If you're feeling sad or hopeless, you're more likely to focus on negative aspects of your life, which reinforces those feelings. This becomes a self-fulfilling cycle that can lead to ingrained emotional patterns. Fourth, belief systems. Over time, our emotions can shape our belief systems. If you've repeatedly felt unworthy or rejected, those emotions can start to create core beliefs about yourself, such as, "I'm not good enough," or "people don't care about me." Once these beliefs are formed, they become ingrained in your subconscious and influence how you interpret future experiences. The good news is that just as emotions can become ingrained in our thoughts, we can also retrain our brains to break these emotional cycles. Here are a few strategies to prevent emotions from becoming overwhelming or ingrained in negative thought patterns. First, mindfulness and emotional awareness. The first step in breaking emotional cycles is becoming aware of your emotions as they arise. Mindfulness teaches you to observe your emotions without judgment, which helps create distance between the emotional trigger and your response. This space allows your rational brain to step in and process the situation more clearly. Second, cognitive restructuring. This technique involves challenging the automatic thoughts and beliefs that arise from emotional responses. For example, if you find yourself feeling anxious before a presentation, ask yourself, what evidence do I have that this will go poorly? By challenging the thoughts that fuel your emotional response, you can begin to rewire the ingrained patterns. Third, reframing. Reframing is a powerful tool for changing the way we interpret emotional experiences. Instead of seeing a situation as a threat or failure, try to reframe it as a learning opportunity. This shift in perspective can help reduce the emotional charge and prevent the emotion from becoming ingrained in your thought process. Fourth, emotional regulation. Learning how to regulate emotions can help prevent them from becoming overwhelming. Techniques like deep breathing, grounding exercises, and progressive muscle relaxation can help calm the body's physiological response to emotions, allowing the mind to think more clearly. Fifth, positive reinforcement. Just as negative emotions can become ingrained in your thoughts, so can positive emotions. By practicing gratitude, self-compassion, and focusing on positive aspects of your experiences, you can train your brain to develop more optimistic thought patterns. Emotions are an integral part of what makes us human. They guide our responses to the world and shape our thoughts in powerful ways. But when emotions become ingrained in our thinking, they can trap us in patterns that may not serve us. Understanding how emotions arise, how they influence our cognitive processes, and how they become deeply embedded in our thought patterns is the key to gaining control over them. By practicing mindfulness, cognitive restructuring, and emotional regulation, we can prevent our emotions from taking over our thoughts and begin to live a more balanced and grounded life. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content on emotional intelligence, mental health, and personal growth. Check out our other videos for more insight into what's behind it all. Please share this video with someone who needs to hear this message.